For those that don't know, I'm Equipto,
I'm Professor Gable.
and this is our podcast, The Opening Act. Peace, peace, peace.
Vibes.
Welcome to our podcast, The Opening Act. I'm your host, Equipto,
I'm Professor Gable.
and we have a special guest with us today. Every guest is special, you know what I mean? Let's keep it a buck. But, you know, dear friend of mine, comrade, so much, you know what I'm saying, I could say about the brother, but we're going to talk about it today. Let's make some noise for the brother Bambu, y'all.
Bambu. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Of course.
Appreciate you, man.
Of course.
So, yeah, you know, this is the opening act, you know what I mean? Me and Professor Gable, we was like, man, let's get this generation gap together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of like talk about, you know, not just the opening act, but, you know, kind of like the character, the background, you know, kind of what made Bambu, you know what I'm saying? And, yeah, we'll have a few questions about, you know, when you opened up for somebody or, you know what I mean, somebody opened up for you, you're like, boy, you're doing too much, hold on.
Right.
You know, whatever it is. It's all, you know, stepping stones and for folks to learn from, kind of. So, first, let's start it off like your background. You know what I'm saying? Like origin, where you came from.
Originally from LA, bounced around all over LA, but born and raised. When I first was making music, Watts was definitely the hub, but I consider Echo Park home now, historic Filipino town
Nice.
in LA. So that's originally where I'm from. Got locked up for armed robbery in 97. And so one of the choices I had was to, you know, the judge was like, all right, well, there's a Marine Corps recruiter in the back. You want to talk to him? And if I see you in here again when you turn 18, you know, it's a wrap. You know,
Right. Wow.
like I dodged CYA, you know. So joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, did an inter-service transfer to the Navy to become a corpsman, which is like a medic, and went back to the Marine Corps as a field medic.
Dope.
Before you were 18, you said?
No, this was like after I had turned 18.
Oh, okay.
And then, you know, got out officially in 2004, but dropped my first project on the drive between San Diego and LA where I was stationed. And I wrote Self-Untitled, which is just a bunch of songs that I was trying to do.
Right.
Because I had been, you know, MCing before it, you know, like you can go back to just underground LA. You know, I was a spectator in that scene, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
That one time like native.
so what happened was when I got out, then I made this album.
Okay.
And I started doing shows, and there was another cat who everybody was like, yo, you got to meet this dude, Kiwi. I'm telling you, like, you're like a younger, you know, an up-and-coming, like, because Kiwi had left for the Bay, you know, to do more organizing work. The I-Hotel thing was really big up here. He had brought me up to deal with that. And he had been organizing tough, you know. So anyway,
Shout out Kiwi.
yeah, shout out to Kiwi. I'm sure he'll jump on this podcast
Right.
eventually. He's
Gotta
got
get
some
the
stories
ball.
to tell for sure. But yeah, so when I got out of the, you know, I was doing a bunch of shows and everybody was like, yo, you got to connect with Kiwi. And I eventually connected with him, and I thought he was dope. We started doing songs together, and then we went on this thing called the Native Guns Tour, which was my first kind of official tour. It was more college based, you know, because they got the funds, they could fly us out and all that stuff. So then from there, it went from like doing a couple songs together on stage to like our whole set was just us two.
Right.
And then we were like, well, we're the Native Guns now, you know. So that's how the Native Guns came out, and then I worked with the Native Guns all the way to like 2007. You know, I dropped Ice Cream Bars for the Children, which was a project. It was supposed to be my last project as a solo artist, and I was just going to do Native Gun stuff.
Rewinding a little bit to what you were saying earlier when you said, you know, you had to go away and then you had to go to the military. How did that kind of like shift your artistic kind of development when it comes to music?
Oh, the military was the best for me. You know, when you're in my day, when you're like, I got friends who still live in the same neighborhoods, never left.
Right.
You know, I had the opportunity to leave, and I got to meet folks from the South, folks who were listening to underground stuff in the Midwest and the East Coast, and I had exposure. This was before the internet,
Right.
so I had exposure to all these different kinds of music. So I'd come home and be like, "Yo, y'all ever heard of Cash Money?" And the homies would be like, "What the hell is a Cash Money? You know, what's a No Limit?" And I had access to all these different sounds, and I think when I started to make music, I was able to incorporate that. Even on the battle scene, I was able to weave in and out of different styles, and you know.
So you were
Especially
battling.
back in the day. I mean, you know, that's how you first got out there. It's always like,
Right.
there's always some open mic, and then that's how you got your name out. And I tried the Project Blow thing, got booed off stage there.
Damn.
That's a tough room, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's a room, like,
What was
they
that
were
like?
booing me before I jumped on the stage, just from my appearance. They were
Yeah.
like, nope. You know what I mean? Like, nope, sorry.
Like,
That's-
I cussed before I rap, so they all kicked me off. Like, no. I was like, oh.
And at the time, Tumex was the only other dude who was, you know, who was not part of the black community that like did not get booed. As far as I knew, like he jumped on stage and he just had so many styles. But anyway, that was a tough room. Then there was the foundation room. Then there was in the valley there was the elements, which is or not elements. It was the basement. Poisonous Records and Hollywood. So we would just bounce around, you know what I mean, and try to get your name out there. And then at the GABA, I did a battle under Marty McFly, and but I was part of a crew called the Bambu Brigade.
Okay.
And so when I had won, I had said Bamboo so much in the rap because it was so easy to freestyle with that they thought my name was Bamboo, so they kept introducing me as Bamboo. And at the time, I was kind of shy. I wasn't like trying to, hey, no, it's not my name, dude. You know? It's actually Marty McFly. You know? It just sounded cool when they started saying something. All right, bet.
Right.
So there's no real like crazy meaning to my name.
About the name too,
yeah, there's no real crazy meaning to my name. I tried playing with an acronym, like, you know, maybe it's by all means bring unity. Oh, that's tight, but that didn't really stick. So you know, it just ended up becoming Bamboo, and just I don't even know what question we were at, but
It doesn't matter.
you know, yeah. So so
Perfect.
being in the military is exactly like it just opened my you know, my musical palette.
Right.
I wasn't just listening to L.A. Underground or, you know, L.A. radio. I was, you know, exposed to all this other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, that's what's up, bro.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah, I know a few people that went through that too. Like young, had to make the choice. Like, oh, I ain't going to juvie. I'm about to go. You feel me? Like,
Yeah.
and they ended up benefiting, like you said. Like, it opened their mind, perspective. Like, you know, woke their ass up or whatnot. You know.
And while I come from the back, you know, that the culture that is, you know, where prison is seen as the college. You know what I mean? As a university. I wasn't necessarily like all three of my first cousins. They've been, you know, they're gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm the last of that little group, and so I kind of got a little hood pass, like, oh, you know, you good. You know what I mean? Like, you can go skate and do whatever you want to do. So I was able to skate and you know, while still banging, you know, we still got the neighborhood on the grip tape. You know what I mean? But I was still able to weave in and out of all these communities, get to love underground hip hop and things like that. So I had a little bit of a benefit there, but that was definitely, I was not for the streets in that way. I always wanted to do something a little bit bigger, you know what I mean? But my roots are definitely, and the theme of my life has been gang banging. You know, I went from one gang to another gang, you know, in the Marine Corps, and then from that gang into organizing, which was another gang, and, you know, so now I'm like in the family gang, you know, that's my thing now.
That's dope. And the theme, like speaking of themes, man, I love how your albums are always theme based. You know what I'm saying? Like you have like, you know what I mean, like how Marvin Gaye did "What's Going On," or you know what I mean, and many artists have done it, just but you've like done it like well. You feel me? Like,
I appreciate that.
No, man, I gotta give you love for that because it's always that's not easy. You feel me? I could imagine. Like I know it's not easy. I've tried to certain levels. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like you have to really, you know, craft that shit. You know,
I got real good collaborators too. DJ Fatrick, Fat Gums, OJ the producer. I got a lot of access to, you know,
that'll help you out with
some
them.
good folks that I can throw a theme out there and they're like, oh, I got you, and they'll get into that sound.
Right.
You know,
So
because
is that
I'm
the
an
process?
MC.
That's the
That's the
process
process
kinda?
for me. I'm an MC. I'm not a producer. I'm not
Right,
anything bigger than just like my goal in my rap career was to get on the Wake Up Show and kill it.
Yes.
And everything that happened after that, I was happy with. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
So
That's fire.
that was it. I never wanted to be nothing else.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because I feel that way too. Like I love being a part of a team and
Yeah.
like collaborating with people, like
sure.
me covering my expertise, other people covering theirs. But I feel like there's also like, especially if you're a rapper or MC, like there's a pressure like you got to know how to do everything, right? Like especially right now.
Now,
you
yeah.
got to at least take a picture on your phone. You
Right,
got to
right,
fucking write posts. You got to do all the marketing yourself. How important is it to like know how to do all that stuff, but then also like when is the time to like pass it on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe, this is just both of y'all.
Right.
Damn near, yeah. I don't know. We both come from that OG era.
Yeah.
So like you said, without a team, we wouldn't.
Right.
We just be making music.
Yeah.
Almost. You
That's
feel me?
pretty
Like-
much what it. I think I would. The advice I always give young artists or MCs coming, because MCing now is and it's okay to say it's a craft that's now it's ancient. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's no real keepers of the MC craft besides like us old heads, and we young kids ain't trying to listen to no old heads. You know what I mean? Like we can get annoying with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we can.
and that's okay to say that craft is it's okay, and like that there's still some young folks that want to keep that up, and that's great. But rap now, being able to rap is just part of your repertoire now.
Right.
Like Selena Gomez got bars. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
She's rapping some bars. It's just like
Yes.
a part of the thing, and I like to take credit as our generation that we helped build that arsenal for folks to be able to create AI rap. They just take popular phrases and throw them against the wall. Like,
Right.
we did that. We built that database. You know
Right.
what I mean? So.
Right.
I miss the craft of MCing. I would love to see a resurgence of it, and I'm sure it will come back. You know what I mean? The way it was.
Right,
And
right.
It's hard. I'm not saying it's better than it. Because
I
it was
know it's
rough
hard.
back then.
Right.
It wasn't cracking back then. We hated the radio back then. There was always some opposition. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said, going back, I never wanted to be nothing more than just a guy who rapped over beats. You know what I mean? People know me in the lab. I come in, I write my verse, I get in there, I record it. All right, man, whatever y'all do with it, man, good luck.
Mix it,
Like
go
I did,
ahead.
I did what I was supposed to do. So
Right.
I go back. I say that to say that I give a lot of credit to like Fat Gums and DJ Fatrick and all the guys who go in there and boost up the sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of that, let's talk about Beatrock.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about having a team and folks, and man, like I've seen y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I even went on the road that one time, man, which was incredible. We did a beautiful run: Hawaii, LA, Diego,
yeah.
Seattle, I think. Man, and it was so beautiful to witness because I've seen videos and things, you know what I mean, and seen the support that y'all get and the show that y'all put on, you know what I mean, like. But I actually had to see a little bit behind the scenes, the merch,
yeah.
and you know what I'm saying, people, Gums running things,
Right,
and
right.
and how everybody's in tune. I was blessed enough to stay at a Gum spot in that
Yeah,
little
with the
the
lab.
studio. Oh
Yeah,
my God, that was so
beautiful.
fun, freestyling. We
Yeah,
had so
yeah,
much
that was
fun,
great.
dude. Like,
That was fun too.
so just how did Beat Rock come about? And maybe without going too crazy, whatever you want to do. But
the original credit for the first project. So Beatrock is a clothing company first. It was a
Okay.
clothing company in Long Beach from my brother Dave Arakel,
dope.
V, and they had a shop, and me and Fat Gums, who had just got out of college, was on his way to med school, was like, hey man, I got all these beats. Let's do a record together, and then we'll do it for the celebration of the Beatrock store, and we can put the Beatrock imprint on it and put it out. And we did. It was one of my first pieces of vinyl ever. Like it came out,
Wow.
put it on the shelves. And that's credited as kind of the first Beatrock project, but I wasn't on the label. But Fat Gums took that idea and said, hey man, I'm gonna start a record label with this. Is it cool? And bred it out. Dave is a partner in it too, of course, because he created the brand. But from there, he signed a bunch of artists. He signed the Counterparts, which Oteo Dub is on.
Right.
He signed Power Struggle, and he built that before I had even come on board. And
Okay.
I was in talks with a bunch of underground labels. You know what I mean? But a lot of them wanted deals like, we'll own your masters. The best deal I got was, we'll own your masters till you pay us all back, and then we'll give them back to you and we'll get a piece of that licensing fee. And I was like, nah, it doesn't feel right. And then I had a conversation with Gums as he was starting this label. I was like, what's the deal look like over at Beatrock?
Right.
He was like, well, I don't want none of that shit. he was like, I don't give a fuck about none of that. I just want to make dope shit.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
So from that foundation, I was like, this is the label I need to be on, and I need the help.
Right.
And then I just kind of got absorbed into the leadership, and we signed Ruby Ibarra, Classy, Rocky Rivera. We got whoever was really doing it in our small bubble in our community. And, we're a bunch of academics or students,
Yeah.
educators,
Organizers,
organizers.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was always our the pool we chose from.
Yeah.
And that's how Rubia Barr is probably the biggest artist on our label right now, and she's absolutely
She took
like,
off.
killing
She's
it.
dope. I remember her
Amazing.
since Team Backpack days, bro.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, this little girl is killing it.
Yeah,
Like,
I
she
did a
got-
show with her in Indiana, and I remember seeing her and being like, "Oh my God, like who is this?" kid?
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
This
And
voice,
years
you know.
later, I did a show with her. I was on another tour I did called the Smugglers Tour, and she opened in Sacramento, and I was like, if I have an opportunity to like mentor an artist, I'm like, that's
Yeah.
the one I really want to work with.
Great job with that, dude. That's just
Yeah.
incredible, man.
I remember when y'all did a show back in the day at Brick and Mortar, and it was the longest line I've ever seen.
Oh
in
yeah,
Brick and Mortar,
oh yeah, I was
ever.
down the
I might have been at
That's
that show.
crazy,
Too. That's
yeah.
down the block.
crazy.
But I actually have a question about something you were saying, because you were mentioning organizers, academics for Beatrock, but y'all shows like and I'm not sometimes it's hard to like gather people in spaces around that around that mission. You know what I'm saying? But y'all shows be packed and lit, but it's still about the message and the mission.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like how does
I think
that,
first you have to like promote the fact that this space is inclusive to everybody.
right.
People need to feel safe and to go out. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
People need to feel like I can go to a venue and not get harassed.
Yep.
The anxiety of just getting out nowadays and getting to another spot is already high for folks.
Yeah.
So we lead with that. Like I said, we're a bunch of educators, we're a bunch of organizers. So we think with that first. How's the community? What's going to get the community to come out and feel safe coming out and having this time with us?
Okay.
So we lead with that, and a lot of the great social media is great. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it definitely pulls people in.
Yep.
So we lean heavy on social media. Try to do a lot of the old school door to door, hand to hand, kind of flyering. But looking back on it, I probably wasn't. We probably could have put more effort into the place where most people are at. You know what I mean? I say that to organizers too.
Right.
I wish it was the way it used to be, where you go to door to door to meet people. But
Right.
that seems to turn people off nowadays. You just got to pivot. That's all.
Right.
So I think that's really what it is getting to know the community, first. And that's the advice I give all young artists who want to be truly independent. Is
Right.
when you get on these opening tours and your main support for so-and-so artist, like build relationships with the door person, you know what I mean, for the security guards, like
Yep.
really build strong relationships. Let them remember you,
Yep.
not just for the set that you're gonna kill,
Right.
but for the fact that I remember that dude Gable. He was hella cool, man.
Yep.
He was like, slid me a joint. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those things go a long way, because that person gets promoted, he becomes the buyer.
Yep.
One day he's like, yo, man, I remember that dude Gable when Jesus coming to town. I'm gonna bring him.
Yep.
That's been kind of what's carried me through my career is the relationships I built, and I built that because of my background in organizing. You know what I mean?
I was about to say, like,
Yeah.
and let's not take away the fact that you're dope as fuck. You
I
feel me? Like,
appreciate that.
I'm just saying, like, because, like, some things, sometimes, let's just say, sometimes message music or the conscious rapper will come off quite corny sometimes.
Yeah.
We all know that. You know what I mean? It's just not talking bad. It's just how it is. This is the rap game. And you do a great job of, like, emceeing and spreading the message. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of like, like I said, I was going to ask kind of about, your relationship or how, like, it came about. Your affiliations kind of like with Killer Mike and Rebel Diaz in a sense. You know what I mean? Like other organizers and folks that put in work or whatnot. Because, like I said, like the crowd comes from, this is just how I see it too, it's just being solid on the mic. And the politics too, like a lot of people are seeking that and like trying to find some way. And Bam is a student, and he's also, obviously like a leader in his own sense, right? And this we could edit later. But do you consider, if we want to, do you consider yourself like a socialist or a communist, or what is your politics in a sense, if you have any?
Well, I'm a scientist. I know
There we go.
that by looking at the way and the trajectory of conflict in the world, you go from, a feudal society of a tenant and a landlord, then you go to a capitalist society. That's the natural evolution, only because that's going to be the conflict. Next natural solution, the worker has less power than the capitalist. That's where we're at right now with capitalism. I think the next, after this conflict, the inevitability of going to socialism is next. It's going to be where the worker has the power over the capitalists. That's just
There you go.
That's just
science.
what we're that's the science of the conflict. That's the direction we are going in. So what I'm doing is just helping it along, because I know after that it's going to be communism. And I have arguments with anarchists and communists all the time, but either way, I always tell them, either way, whether it's communism, anarchy, whatever form of anarchy, we all know scientifically, I believe that we got to go through socialism first. So let's just work together, get us there first. Mm-hmm. Then let's argue about what's happening next when we get to that stage. Let's get the people some justice first. Let's get the workers some justice first,
Right.
And then we'll worry about that later. So I think that's where I'm at as an old man, it's hard to argue with young college kids or young kids who just got organized because,
Right. Rebellious.
10 years looks like a long time. Like when you're 40, 10 years is like a blip. You know what I mean? I'm looking ahead like, man, I got like 20 years left, 30 years left. Like I got to do something with this time, So,
Yep.
And that's going to inform how you grow. And I'm from a different time. I step aside and let young organizers. I'm not telling young organizers what to do. I'm giving them my perspective as someone who stood in their shoes for a little bit. You know what I mean? And they can say, hey, I want to go in that direction, or no, I don't want to be that old. I don't want to be Bambu's old ass where he's all disillusioned and shit. I'm going to go over here. And that's fine, too. You know what I mean? I don't know it all.
Yes.
And that's how I approach it with artists, too. Like I gave Ruby, every piece of experience I had on the road trying to build this independent thing. And I didn't tell her to, take this and this is the way you got to do it.
Right.
I'm like, listen to what I have to say.
Right.
And go out there and pick everybody else's brain. Talk to Equipto. Talk to Nump. He
That's
got
like
a
how you
different
are, too.
experience.
Yeah. That's how I
Yeah.
meet these youngsters.
Yeah. I mean,
I learned from Bam, man. Like I remember I was struggling in the politic game in the Frisco during the times of Frisco 5 and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember I reached out to you. I was like,
Yeah,
man, I need
I
to
came
sit
up
down
to
with
the
you.
tent.
I was like,
Yeah.
please sit down with me for a minute. I just
Yeah.
need some help. And you were like, bro, that's why I go to the Philippines. You were like, not like fuck this shit, but you're like, I just go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the root of this shit is.
Well, because I knew at
problem.
that time that's what my organizing work was about, was building that bridge between what was going on in the Philippines and how our work here can directly affect that, and how the stuff that's happening over there directly affects our communities here that are struggling. So, that was my job at the time.
Yes.
And then I left that world of organizing, and just as a support system, and then jumped into the the official nonprofit, world, where we were kind of diverting funds from, big grants and turning, using that money to fund organizers to go in and actually, like, for example, we had a smoking cessation and multi-unit housing project with the group I was with, People's Corps.
Right.
Okay.
And we took that money and, we said, hey, let's you live in this multi-unit housing. It sucks to have cigarette smoke because it goes through the vents and da-da-da-da. You guys should get together and talk about this. And, hey, I wonder why this is this way. And then by the end of it, you got a small community organization around this apartment building that's talking about capitalism in the way of, like, pushing tobacco on these young kids. And now they're looking at other issues in the community, and that's what we were doing with this money that we were getting from, the tobacco companies that lost and had to pay money out.
Right.
So I always bring that back to music. That's kind of what we do with the music that we do. Nobody on B-Rock is killing it off of sales or off of spins at all. I see the numbers. Nobody on the label is like super killing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's all the other stuff that they decide to do with it.
Right. No doubt. So, this is the opening act podcast, right? So we like to ask our guests, like, can you tell us about a significant time when either you were an opening act at a show, or like you had an experience with someone opening for you, and it, just do you have a story that's significant to you with that in mind?
I mean, so many stories, but I think the thing with the opening act that, I talked to E yesterday on text.
Right.
And he was like, it's called the opening act, kind of gave me a rundown. It got me thinking about those days when I was on tour.
Right.
And I think one of the most significant and career-changing tours for me was the Blue Scholar Cinemetropolis tour.
Okay.
Seattle and the Pacific Northwest in general, while it has a really strong connection to the Bay, like sonically, music coming out of the Pacific Northwest, they call Seattle the town, you know what I mean, out there. So they just have that kind of connection. But what they have over there is their infrastructure is a little different. All the venue guys and all the hip hop community there is really tight.
Right.
So I got to watch a group like the Blue Scholars bubble in their community. Like, they killed Seattle first.
Right.
And then when they decided to go on tour, everybody who was from Seattle or, you know, who lived in that town would come out, and they just did the business right. You know, so I got to watch that from a truly independent standpoint.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they were, before Macklemore, they were the ones that were signing labels.
Right.
They signed Duck Down to a publicity deal or
Wow,
something.
that's
You know what I mean?
crazy.
Like, where it wasn't like that before. They were like one of the first to go out there and say, hey, you know what, we'll pay you to
Really?
do our, like
That's
they,
ill.
and then that's the approach Macklemore took. You know, and
That's
it was,
crazy.
you know, yeah,
Right.
You know, his tour manager was Blue Scholar's tour manager. You can do the
Okay.
math. You know what I mean? Like, he figured it out
blueprint,
and was
yeah.
like, he got the blueprint and applied it to Macklemore.
And they're white, so they, you know.
And I wasn't gonna say that, but let's say it. I mean, it is what it is. You know, like, I think that dude saw his golden goose. You know, was like, yo, and yo, Bob Macklemore band is, you know, at the time when we were doing stuff, he's dope. He's dope at what he does. You know what I mean? He's
I
still
remember
consider
him
him a
at
friend.
Berkeley
He's
Park.
he came out to Hip Hop in the Park.
I
Like,
remember.
you know, but again, it was the team that he had that took the model and was like, yo, we're gonna apply this to you. You know, he didn't change. He just jumped on the ship that worked. So anyway, I learned a lot on that Blue Scholars tour, and then that's where the advice that, you know, and at that, the other thing that was happening at that tour, Prometheus Brown, one of my best friends, Geologic of the Blue Scholars,
Shout out.
was doing a piece for Al Jazeera where we were going to, and this is during Occupy.
Oh, wow.
And so we were going to all the Occupy tents and all these towns. It was like a 36 city tour. Like, you know, we were just like hitting all these encampments. So there was just so much information, so much,
That's dope.
you know, so much stuff I was seeing just being around those guys, you know. And then again, seeing their live show, seeing how they did things, you know.
Learning how to, I would imagine, incorporate the music with organizing.
Definitely,
Like,
I
seeing
mean,
that
you know,
happen, like,
and Prometheus Brown is another original, you know, MC activist who, you know, a lot of his music is responsible for organizing many of people.
yeah. Didn't he do the Yuri Kochiyama song?
He did,
Yeah.
he did. Yuri
Shout out.
Kochiyama.
Yeah, that song is
You know.
beautiful.
He was somebody who really did that.
No doubt.
So yeah, as far as like tours, I don't know if there's a story that, you know, is better than another that
No,
I
that's-
could tell on here, but the one I will say is like the most memorable was the Blue Scholars one, because I really absorbed a lot of wisdom in how to throw these shows properly and what you needed. Oh, like sound is important. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? Where when you start, you just think, hey man, turn the mic on. What's the sound check? Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I just want to rap. Like,
Yeah.
And it went from that to like those guys showed me this is the importance of having a dude to do your merch,
Right.
And how the merch money gets split, and you know,
Right.
and driving. That was one of the first ones where we drove. You know, well, the first one was the Fab. It was Mr. Fab, Zion I tour that I went on.
You went on
which was
that?
a short Cali run, but that was a good like run.
Man,
that
what
was
was
the
that
first.
like?
But it was,
Shout out Zumbi.
Yeah.
You
rest
know.
in peace, Zombie.
like and you know, rest in peace. But yeah, it was you know, I learned a bunch from those guys too. You know what I mean? But again, the Blue Scholars, because it was such a long tour.
Okay.
Like in a van. Like,
Right.
It was,
You
it
learn.
was career changing. You know what I mean? You definitely learn a lot. So yeah. And then the last like big tour I went on was with Brother Ali, and I learned a lot because just like the Pacific Northwest, Minnesota got their
That's a big tour.
independent
Well,
rap game on lock.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Brother Ali tour must have been
it was
Yeah.
another like life changing tour. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I love Ali.
Yeah,
I love Ali.
Yeah, good brother. I was gonna ask, man, like, how was it working with Muggs?
It was dope.
Like,
I know I'm from LA. I'm from that
blood.
cloth. So
I'm all blood. No. Bay Area, you know what I mean? As soon as you said LA. But yeah, man, how was that experience, man?
it
Like,
was
you know,
wonderful because it was bigger than the Soul Assassins camp. It's like, we're going on like runs in the Hollywood Hills. You know what I mean? We're like literally jogging and doing marathon runs. Like doing Muay Thai together. It's a whole culture.
Wow,
You know what I mean?
wow.
And Muggs was just a great teacher in general because he was one of those dudes who walked that other side into the major labels and was still able to be like, fuck y'all, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah.
He worked paperwork where, you don't ever see him on tour with Cypress Hill, but he's getting paid. You know what I mean? Like he's just smart about his business. He's tapped in with. He's another person who old heads should learn from. He's not like hating on young cats. He's finding the young cats and being like, hey man, I got some beats that,
Right.
Yeah.
he's responsible for for Alchemist. He's responsible for so many people. You know, people don't give him enough credit, but
they don't.
But Muggs, like
Muggs, we need you on the opening act.
oh yeah, man. Yeah, Muggs,
like you said, I seen him like on IG with his own vinyl pressing. And
he's many. Like he's truly a dude who still keeps one big foot in the independent world, but can still play in the majors. You know what I mean? Because of he smoked a joint on SNL.
Right?
You know, like,
that's hard.
he got banned for
Pioneer
life
shit.
because he was like, yo, fuck that, I'm smoking. You know,
Pioneer with the weed game, pioneer with the production style.
You smoking? You
I am.
I just got this from somewhere.
Exactly. No sponsors yet. We don't have no sponsors on this, but we're looking for sponsors. Opening act.
Good
If y'all about y'all shit.
Yeah.
So damn.
Yeah.
that must
So
be
and then we
crazy.
talked about, and then we brought up Killer Mike. Killer Mike, I met through. I was doing a show, and I did a headline show with SOBs in New York.
Dope.
And Technique came out, and he brought Killer Mike. He's like, yo, you gotta see this dude, So he came out, and then from there, like, our relationship was solid. And then, by coincidence, his DJ worked with me and DJ Fatrick back in L.A. at this after-school workshop we were doing at the community center called Ready, Aim, Speak. He had came out and was a part of that, this thing called Sessions that we had.
Okay.
And, so, shout out to DJ Trackstar, who's Run the Jewels' DJ. And so he helped keep me and Mike's relationship really solid.
That's what's up.
Because I was always around. And then with Rebel Diaz, I went out there because they were, I don't know if you guys remember the story of them squatting in this building.
Okay.
And then turning it into a community space and like being able to take it over. So I went out there. Yeah, I went out there. There was a bunch of campaigns going on, but I went out there. Jasiri X was out there. Rebel Diaz, and I did that show with them, and our relationship's been solid. Rodrigo and those guys, you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Those guys are really out there. They've been arrested several times.
Right. Yeah.
Just doing the most. Like, they are dope. They are very about. They're about what they say they are. Which is important,
That's crazy.
Rap can cloud people's visions, you know what I mean? Or make people believe they are who they aren't. So I love that that it's the great equalizer,
Indeed. We're almost wrapping it up right here, Bambu, but I have one significant kind of question that I've been thinking of.
Yeah.
It's not that one, actually. But you're, you say you're from L.A., but you be in the Bay a lot right now.
I'm in the Bay.
You're in the Bay.
Yeah, I have.
We've adopted them.
Yeah. I've been back and forth since 2010.
Yeah.
I've been back and forth tough, so nobody could ever really lock down where I was from.
Right.
I was working out of two, 3 addresses.
Right.
Where like in the past maybe 5 years, this is home.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like.
So what was that like? What was the first like jump here? How'd that happen?
Kiwi was in the Native Guns, and Kiwi lived up here.
He's from here. Okay, gotcha.
He's from LA too, but
Okay.
he was living up here at the time.
All right.
So because we were in that group together, I was always coming up here. And then I fell in love with Rocky Rivera.
Okay.
And then I just stuck. I got stuck here.
That was
a wrap.
I moved her down to LA. We had the baby, and then we moved back up here. And I love the Bay. Like, sports teams, I don't know, but
Yeah, right.
I gotta stay loyal to my soil on that one. But as far as the Bay is concerned, you know what I mean? Like I found a whole new community. Communities embraced me, you know what I mean? Because I didn't come up here like, I came up here respectful of the culture, like I always do when I go into a new city. You know what I mean? Connected, tapped in with the OGs here, you know. So like I said, I love the Bay. I work with Spank Pops, who's a crazy Frisco head,
Shout out my brother.
Loud ass Spank Pops, so work with Oteo Doug, so
Shout out my other brother.
I get history lessons every time I sit in a room with those guys.
bet,
You know what I mean? Like,
damn, you gotta know about it.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, So so I've been here for a while, so I consider Oakland home now. So yeah.
Yeah, well, the Bay is honored to have you.
Yeah, and I know Gable and E wanted to ask me about the Chris Brown thing.
Yeah, let's talk
So,
about it. I mean,
I'm gonna end it. It's gonna be a clip on Instagram because it was as simple as I was at the airport and I had read. I was just doing reading on like a World Star or something. And it was Kehlani had publicly something came out where she had attempted suicide, and Chris Brown's instinct was to go on there and like clown her and come to the defense of whoever it was she was dating at. I don't even really remember.
right.
And so I tweeted from the airport. I remember I tweeted like, man, I'll beat this dude's ass. Like, that's fucking whack. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, especially I was like building my community in the Bay, you know, and like I felt really defensive of that. Like, that's fucking whack. You know what I'm saying? And then Baller Status got a hold of it and just was like, yeah, we was gonna beat the fucking shit out of Chris Brown's punk ass. And then there's no quotes from me. It's just based off that tweet.
Yeah.
And then it got bigger than, you know, by the time I landed, my phone was like, yo, man, you finna fight Chris Brown, bro? What's going on with that? I'm like, how would I even have access to this dude? You know what I mean? And the only reason I said that at the time, too, was because this was around the time where he was like claiming he was a blood and like the Bloods had adopted him. And I'm from that culture. Like, you don't, that's not how it works. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
especially at that time, again, like, I was still very defensive of that. Like, yo, the street culture is like real. You know, you can't just go out there and be like, yo, I'm a blood now, you know. People have died to uphold that name, you know.
Right.
But anyway, so that's all where that comes from. Is never really, I doubt like Chris Brown's gonna see me and be like, what's up, motherfucker? Remember me? I doubt that's ever gonna happen, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know the headlines. Next thing you know, like rapper Bambu challenges Chris
Yeah, I
Brown
was
to
like,
a fight. Like it was
whoa.
gonna be a pay per
I
view
was
or
like, oh
something.
my God, this is
It was a big blog
It
moment.
was.
That was that was the only like time I've ever gone viral on some kind of something like that. So I've been fortunate in that way. But yeah, I mean, you know, I'd love to hear from E though. I know we're running short on time, but
No, we good.
I'd love to hear about like, you know, what advice would you give young touring acts? You know what I mean?
Right. You know, it's something that I always used to think of, and I heard you say too, as far as like not even open to acts, but young people. It's something about, you said, don't hustle your music, hustle to do your music, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the same thing. I look at it like, have fun, you know, like, and I hate to be the one, because I don't want to be the one, like, follow rules, because I was backstage. Every venue we go to the bar and steal all the shit before sound check.
Right.
You know, we get kicked out. You know what I mean? Not saying there's a right or a wrong way to do it, you know, but have fun.
Yeah.
But my advice would be like to kind of follow rules. Like Bam was saying, like you gotta, you know what I mean, make good relationships with the sound men. Like all that has benefited me, bro. You know what I mean? Like I go back to places I don't remember. Like I remember you did what's it called, man? You were great, man. You made it easy on me. I'm like, oh, right on.
Yeah.
And that helps.
That's dope.
You know what I mean? Like.
And that's kind of my advice for every and anything. You work, you know, wherever you decided to do for money, like just, you know, build personable relationships with people as best you can, especially the organizers.
Right.
You know, like the cancel culture thing is real. You know what I mean? I've been an advocate of it and also a victim of it. And so,
man.
you know, it's forced me to kind of come back and be like, all right, man, like, where do I stand really with the way social media is working to, you know?
Right.
Is that really, would I do that in somebody's face?
Right.
And that's kind of where I always go. Would you do that in somebody's face? Would
Right.
you say, hey, man, I don't think that, and more than likely, most people won't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
So that's kind of the stance I've taken when it comes to, you know, dealing with that side of organizing. But I always say, man, if you can build a positive relationship with somebody, it's much easier to organize a friend than it is to organize an enemy. You know?
Man.
Right.
And the ultimate goal should always be to organize people.
Man.
You know, I see right-wing conservative dudes on my site. I always take it as a chess challenge. You know, how can I get this dude to by the end of this be like, you know what, man, you might be right about that, man. You know, maybe we can.
Hey.
That's a win for me. You know what I mean? Because
it
that
works.
person isn't real. That's
Right.
the person he's giving me on his Instagram.
Right.
You know, so I'm not threatened by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that's not threatening to me. So I always try to at least try to engage with someone in a way where I'm hoping that, you know, let's talk about this. You know what I mean? Like, what's up? My mentors always said, you know, like, you should be able to organize any and everybody. That's the skill you want to get as an organizer. So, you know, it's really easy to dismiss people, but it's harder to kind of connect with people. And I say that in independent rap because that's another thing. It's a blood. Where we come from was a blood sport.
Right.
You know, wouldn't be like, hey, Equipto, you're an MC, great, man. Be like, man, who the fuck is Equipto, dog? Like, who told him he could rap? You know what I mean? Let's do some shit. That was always the competitive nature of it.
Yes,
That's how
yes.
it used to be when I was a kid. That's why you had crews, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyway, you know.
No, yeah, man, shit, this is crazy. Being open and acting nowadays, I guess we've all seen some crazy shit. Shout out that one video though I wanted to talk about when you and Teo was the Samoan bat one.
The Samoan cricket bat.
Yeah, the Samoan cricket bat. That shit. Did you come? Who came with that concept? Or that shit was genius.
Yeah,
bro.
it was kind of. That's where I mean.
I could tell you. Yeah, you had a lot to do with it,
brother named
regardless.
Eugene from Lunch Money in the city. Like we kind of sat down and wrote it together and then made it happen. So yeah, that was fun. That project was fun because that was done in quarantine. You know what I mean? So
That's right.
I was able to do it in my living room, and you know, as a dad now with kids, and that's my primary focus. It's hard to like go get studio time and just kick it. You know, so it was the first album I was really just locked in the house.
You engineer yourself?
I did, you know, but you know, I had to learn all that doing all the community work with the kids, like doing the workshops and things. I had to learn how to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
Technology's going so fast, man.
But
it's great.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
Dude, but this is, man, if we had this shit as kids, dude, holy shit.
But
I used to have to walk around with a Tascam reel to reel.
Yeah.
And go from like, get on the bus and go all the way to Van Nuys and make sure my reel is my reel, man. You know, like mark it up, make sure it's yours.
I always tell people, I tell youngsters, we couldn't even hit the studio without having the reel.
Yeah, you had to.
The studio day, like, do you have a reel?
You have
like,
your reel, like, fuck, I gotta go get one.
Where good do I get that? Yeah, go spend $100 on boom. Okay.
Yeah.
Like getting a video out for people to see. There wasn't no YouTube, bro.
MTV,
like,
right?
You'd have to stand outside of some, you know, public access show and be like, yo, man, play my shit, dude. I'm gonna jump you.
Right. Yes, there was no access. No. That's why I always tripping. Like, man, if we had social media when we was kids, there'd been a lot more breakups with our girlfriends. But it would.
What would your Instagram handle be when you were 15?
Oh man, one of my first names. I look back and it's so silly. One of my first rap names. My first rap name was Defrost. Horrible.
Ooh, Defrost.
And I was young. I was like maybe 11.
That shows you the era you come from.
Yeah.
Though.
So like, and then 12, my name became, or 13 was like Drive By. But okay, I'm 13, right? So I thought, man, I'm gonna spell it different. You know what I mean? So I spelled it DRYV, and we all had hats back in the day that had your name on it.
Yeah.
So I got DRYV, and then I was like, how can I BI? So I had Drive By on my head at 13, like
kinda dope.
like walking around.
That is
Drive By, you know?
gangster rap name, bro.
Yeah, and then
oh my
that
God.
eventually fizzled away. Nobody bought into that. It was like, you ain't doing no fucking drive-bys. Chill out, bro.
My first name was Drive By.
I'm loving this.
Let me see that bag of weed.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Thanks.
Okay, after Drive By, what was it?
It was Naja Large, which came during that, like, you know, it was like I was super backpacker at that time. So it was like Naja Large, and
That's
then,
dope,
you know,
bro.
I had battle names like Marty McFly, you know, the
can see that-
Deadbeat.
know that
you
era,
know, and then from there,
Like you said, the
became
Bambu.
and then
the
it just
Bambu.
kinda stuck.
What was it? Bambu Brigade? You said?
Yeah, it was the Bamboo Brigade.
That's a dope name too for the little clique.
Yeah, it was a cool little clique.
All right, Queasy, what would your Instagram name be when you were 15?
What's that? It was like 89 when I was. No, I was 15 and it started tripping like.
Yeah, 89.
So I was like 89. I was probably. My first rap name was Kid Unique.
Oh,
At
That's
Kid
tight.
Unique.
And then it was like, what was it? I don't even know. Might have been, because I know Equip came
Right.
like around 90, 89.
Right. 90,
White
89.
Mike gave me
we
that
haven't.
name.
We're not in. That hasn't happened yet.
Oh, yeah, Cold Ill. That was my first, actually.
Code Hill.
Mike gave me that name because you know how Flavor Flav, Cold Illin' and all that. And my name's Ilyich. My real name, so it'd be Cold Ill. They were like, that was my. And thank you for reminding me, Liam. Cold Ill, Kid Unique. Unique was more like my tag name, actually, because I wasn't really rapping. You know, I was like, you know, mimicking Just Ice or, you know what I mean? And Lottie
Yeah,
Dot, like,
Just Ice.
you know, all that shit.
yo, the Bay Area, specifically Frisco heads, like they used to rap. Y'all had the illest nicknames, man. I love. You know, I had to learn. I work with finesse. You know, I work with like old Frisco heads.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And when I hear them talk, they bring up names. I'm like, who's that? Like, who got that name?
Yeah.
Who's white ass? What y'all talking about? Like,
It's so dope, man. I love it. I
Spank
love
Pops. What a name, bro.
Right.
Like, my name is Spank Pops. Like, come on, man.
it. That is hilarious. That is some Frisco shit,
It's some
though.
Frisco shit. Y'all be shaking hands hella hard.
Oh, Spanky, yeah.
Hella hard.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Spank come from back here.
Yeah. Boom.
Terry had to learn a whole martial art just to do it. He's like, I gotta meet him right there. Like, that's where he's weakest at his focal point. Bah, I gotta catch it.
He said, I got to
Like,
catch
damn,
him right
T.
there.
It's
Shout out Tail Dub. We got to get Tail Dub
Yeah,
and
we got-
Spanky on here.
We need y'all on the podcast, man.
Yeah, man. All right. So where we at? We good?
Yeah, that was a good one. I think.
Yeah.
Anything else y'all want to say to the entire world, real quick, Bambu? Over here, actually, I guess.
No, just look out for more stuff from Beatrock Music. You know, listen to all the whole old catalog. Because it's sad that the music I made back in 2007 is still relevant today, unfortunately. That's not a good thing. If you listen to my music, you'll understand. You know, all the topics I covered back then are still happening in full force today. So, you know, take a listen to it. Organize. Please organize. Go organize with the right people. You know, yeah, that's it. Smoke a lot of weed.
No doubt.
It's medicine.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
This is the opening act.
Good job.
That's Bambu.
I'm Professor Gable.
I'm Equipto.
Vibes and Flights.
Peace.